Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Check out these headlines. The petrodollar plus the yuan equals the XRP ledger. We're going to get into it. AI and crypto, more specifically, AI and the XRP ledger and total addressable market. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and digperspectives.com for exclusive content. Right now, we're talking about iTrustCapital, ladies and gentlemen. If you go to itrustcapital.com/go/XRPArmy, or simply click the first link underneath the video, you could have access to all of these suite of products that they offer here. The traditional Roth and SEP IRAs, physical gold and silver, and crypto, and you get your own back office with all of these offerings. That kind of empowerment is hard to find, ladies and gentlemen. And now they have the premium custody account. If you're a long-term asset holder, you're going to want to know about this right away. And now they've added the premium custody treasury, bringing the potential for businesses to create their own treasuries. And I encourage you to put together a DALT, not a DAT. Yeah, don't put together a digital asset treasury. There's too much volatility. Put together a digital asset utility treasury. Yeah, that's going to have a price floor in the future. And then they have a premium custody treasury for family trusts. How about that one? Nonprofits. Listen, whatever you're looking for, they have it here. So click the link underneath the video and get started today. You're going to love it. Right here, we're ranging between 137 and 142. We'll keep an eye on it. And I'm going to tell you very quickly, 34 days to XRP Las Vegas, and even less time for the tickets that are on sale till April 1st. So get yours today and book your room. You don't need a code. The discounts are built right into the links for the tickets and the rooms. Let's start here. We got to go to the geopolitical conflict because I want to touch on something. Here is the current global oil crisis country by country as of today. Now, we know the United States doesn't get its oil primarily through the Strait of Hormuz, so obviously it's nothing for us. Now, with that being said, Sri Lanka rationing because they have 4-day work week. Schools are closed because of the crisis of oil. Pakistan looks much the same way. India, 9 days of reserves left. Emergency suppliers being hunted. South Korea's got 50 days left. Clock is ticking. Japan lied, said they had 240 days, but actually they have 95 days of reserves of oil. UK Shell CEO warning a shorting starts in April for them. Germany, gas is up 30%. EU emergency plan is launched. France paying 30% more at the pumps than 8 weeks ago. South Africa government says they're stable, but citizens photograph empty pumps. Turkey stocks crashed. Inflation exploding, currency under pressure. Brazil watching nervously, own oil helps, but supply chains are hurting. Australia tankers delayed, import dependent. You get the idea here. China says they got 1.4 billion barrels stockpiled. Banned exports, still getting Iranian oil, but it's at a trickle to what the normal rate was. And we know that there's a meeting May 15th with President Xi and President Trump. That's going to be a summit to work this out. We're going to get into that. But don't forget about BRICS. Russia, China, love the idea of BRICS. Okay, there you have it. We should be paying attention to BRICS. And I think the president and the administration's paying attention to BRICS. Now, look, I asked this question right here, basically payments in yuan for oil, because that's what's been floated, right? Is that we know that there are ships that are now allowed to come through, again, at a trickle compared to the actual daily rate. There would be 100 plus ships go through the Strait of Hormuz. Now it's down to a handful a day. So they're proposing from Iran that, yes, some of the oil coming through the strait is to be bought and settled with the Chinese yuan. Now, that's interesting. Because, you know, I've had this ongoing conversation in DPMG. Shout out to the DPMG fam. By the way, we're going to be opening that group soon. I would say in May is where I'm shooting for. And if you're looking to get in, that's going to be a limited time. I do not I am not trying to take over the world. I only let so many people in that group. That's how I do it because I think the world of everybody in there. So that will be open in May. But nonetheless, coming back to all of this, I just want to say right here, the Chinese yuan. Okay, great. So let's just run with that for a second. Okay. They're going to accept Chinese yuan. It's being floated, right? Iran has publicly floated that idea. And we know, in short, yes, some of that's happening, they're saying. So, okay, well, let's run with that a little bit. Could the XRP ledger be used to receive oil through the Strait of Hormuz in exchange for Chinese yuan? Because the majority of the world's payment rails are USD rails, and the XRP ledger is currency agnostic, meaning it can deal with any currency. Here's what it took 38 seconds for Grok to say. Yes, the XRP ledger could technically and practically be used to settle payments for oil transiting the Strait of Hormuz in Chinese yuan, precisely because it is currency agnostic and operates independently of traditional USD dominated payment rails like SWIFT or correspondent banking. This is what I've been talking about. This could become the introduction to the multipolar asset world, the unwinding of the petrodollar agreement, the agreement to share in the settlement of oil in other currencies and multi-currencies. Why would the United States do this if they get their elevated status as a global reserve currency from all oil being denominated and settled in US dollars? Because they have a new use case and they don't need that anymore. It's called private stablecoin issuers. And most people, that's absurd. Oh, yeah? Is it absurd? Is it ridiculous? That's way too early for that to happen. Well, it might be early. But I mind you that stablecoins did 33 trillion in transactional volume in 2025 alone. So I think the stage is set for something to start to shift. Now, I'm not suggesting things will be done by May, but this is what it looks like with the ledger and XRP in between. Shout out to Vet for sharing this. And it's very slow right now. You see, this is real activity not happening at a very deep level at the moment. But I want you to imagine now that the Strait of Hormuz is settling yuan openly, and imagine the level of activity that would be rolling across the XRP ledger right here. Think of it for a moment. We're very close to being here. They can't use SWIFT. That's USD payment rails. They can't use correspondent banking. That's USD payment rails. So here lies the reason why you would lean into blockchain and distributed ledger technology like the XRP ledger. And herein lies the use case that can start to relieve the spillover shocks and friction in the system to allow for this new multipolar world to begin to take hold. Simon Dixon reshares here Donald Trump's post here, the president's Trump post saying, my meeting with highly respected president of China, President Xi Jinping, which was originally postponed due to our military operation in Iran, has been rescheduled and will take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and I will host President Xi and Madam Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date this year. Our representatives are finalizing preparations for these historic visits. I look very much forward to spending time with President Xi in what will be, I am sure, a monumental event. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There you have it right there from the president. Simon Dixon had this to say, talking about the meeting in May. He says, this is when we officially transition from the post-World War II Bretton Woods world order to the new multipolar world order. Isn't this the exact conversation we've been talking about? You better bet it is. Unknown DLT says Ripple was not chosen by the U.S. government. It was built by the U.S. government, and that is why XRP will make Ripple the most valued company in the world. XRP will allow the U.S. to remain the global leader. I think so. And I like to use the term commissioned myself. Shout out to Unknown DLT. But I want you to listen to this because this is a reminder from David Schwarz years and years ago. It's open. Check it out.
Ledger's hyper efficiency and liquidity enables developers globally to support numerous use cases from DeFi, payments, consumer applications. And you don't need anybody's permission to interact with the XRP ledger, right? It's a public good.
There it is. It's a public good, ladies and gentlemen. That's currency agnostic. And you know what? Let's hear Brianna Madigan, who used to head up the XRP Ledger Central Bank engagement, and hear what she says. I mean, who prepares for a systemic shock? Right? And wouldn't you call this oil crisis a systemic shock to the system? I just read you all the countries that are in a crisis right now.
Attribute of a healthy liquid market is really resilience. And that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event. So if there was some sort of a market shock, the ability for order books to get back to normality and tighten back to similar prices to where they were prior to that event relatively quickly.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, who else is out here with the crypto land preparing for systemic events so order books can get back to normal very quickly? Isn't that interesting? How about this one, Evan Schwarz?
Some people have heard me say this before, but I'll throw it out to the audience. What is Interledger's total addressable market size? All the money.
There you have it. That's what we're talking about. And here's that total addressable market right here. Look at all of it. It's incredible the amount of liquidity that needs to be tokenized and brought on chain. This is the task. And what I think is interesting here is I'm waiting for us all to find out just how much of that's already been done. Remember the DTCC? They could tokenize 100 trillion unilaterally in no time flat. Raoul Pal brings up a good point about total addressable market, and then he incorporates the idea, excuse me, I can't speak. He incorporates the idea with agentic adoption to crypto and how it will accelerate the growth of this space and digital assets, but also open up the total addressable market to infinity. Take a listen.
I realized recently, we all kind of knew the agents are going to use crypto rails, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of left it at that. And I woke up one morning, I thought, fuck, the TAM of everything has gone to infinity. Right, we think about TAM being, okay, what's the TAM of the internet?
Yeah.
Maybe there's 6 billion people using the internet in the world today. So therefore that's the TAM of anything. And there's 8.5 billion humans. But there's going to be 8.5 billion AI agents, maybe doing microtransactions. So then you think, oh, the TAM of crypto, I'm wildly wrong. I'm wildly wrong on this by orders of magnitude. And I realize that this is the strongest narrative we will ever have. It's more than the institutions are coming. It's the agents are coming, and they're coming in gigantic size. So I think it's much bigger than we expected. And then obviously the duality of that is digital ID has to come. Right. And trust within an agentic world. So I think the use case of blockchain just accelerates from here.
I do too. And I think it's going to take off faster than the birth of the internet. And just bringing it back to the XRP ledger, you know, that currency agnostic public good. It's got AI agents, baby, virtuals and T54. How about that one? It's not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'm liking the setup here. We just need to get that legislation to watch it all take off. Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.